It is currently the end of Tour de Fleece 2026, and I'm currently working on this bobbin of purple hand-dyed cashmere fiber that I received in an auction. I spun a few samples of it on and off, but now I'm really trying to clear through just because I have two small bats left of it, and I'm currently working on this third bat. So I'm just sampling and just getting some down spun so that I have something to show for Tour de Fleece, because why not? As I've been spinning, I've also been doing a little bit of knitting, and I had some other hand spun yarn, but right now I just finished a really lovely lace shawlette bandana called Dingo's Treasure. Currently, I casted on my second texture and twist shawl by Robbie Delaney, and that was a pattern released in 2024 Fall Fiber Forge, which is hosted at the Cotton Factory. So I'm currently casted on this morning my second one, and I'm using two alternate balls of dark brown and a light brown, and we'll see how that goes. I really want to knit more cowls. Normally I don't knit anything that is really gauge necessary, so sweaters, socks, not really. I'll knit hats, fingerless mitts, shawls and cowls more often than not because they're a bit more forgiving. But I am really hoping to try more cowls. I've knit, I think, two this past year, and I found some really nice patterns at my local library for knitting cowls with simple lace and texture motifs. And I think it would be a really great way to use up my hand spun yarn because I love spinning for the process rather than the product. And it would be a really fun way to sort of show off what I have. So that's sort of my current state of crafting right now. I mean, there's other things going on. I've been like hand knotting mala and bolo style necklaces, which has been really fun. Using alternate ways of tying that hand knot with an awl, without an awl, using a slip knot method with a pass over section to try to create different ways to knot the mala and have it secure. So that's been really fun. But right now, just getting some spinning done, and I really would love to finish this by the end of July. I mean, we have 16 days maybe left in the month, 17, I can't count, but we have just under 3 weeks or so in July. And I would just love to have some of this cashmere spun up. And I think, you know, a cowl in cashmere would be such a nice touch of luxury, especially with lace, kind of showing off the quality, the dimension of the overall yarn. Cashmere has such a nice shine to it. And that's just the optic way that, you know, the fiber looks when light hits it. So that would be really, really just fun to sort of work with. There are some neps and little cut ends in this cashmere based on just how I received it. It had to be processed, and at the time I had used hand carders, which was fine, but I had asked someone to process it in a drum carder for me, just because I thought it would be, you know, be easier, be quicker, of course, right? You're getting this machine to process your fiber. I don't think the drum carder was all that great in processing, either how it was processed or the quality of the drum carder, or it could have been the fiber, but there were some naps in this cashmere. So every now and then when I'm spinning it, I don't always pluck them out because sometimes I feel like I don't like waste, so I've left some of them in. But the ones that are really bad, I pluck out. But anyways, I'm trying to like save what I have because it was an auction and I did bid for this fiber. And I don't know, maybe I spent a bit too much on the cashmere when I got it. But I want to keep as much of the fiber as possible. You know, if there are naps or lumps or bumps in the yarn, I try to smooth it out. I'm trying to work consistently with the single that I'm spinning. It's spinning at somewhat of like, not a lace spun, but I'm overall trying to have a 3-ply yarn, and I'm going to achieve that by chain plying. So I'm hopefully, the more plies, the better. I'm hoping that the chain plying will balance out any uneven areas, but otherwise, I'm just kind of going with it. It's hand spun yarn. Is my yarn perfect? No. I try to focus and I try to pay attention to what I'm spinning, but a lot of times, again, I'm doing it for the process, not really the product. Again, I don't really knit things that are gauge dependent. So if my yarn's a little thick or thin, it's just extra texture for my project, whether it be a scarf, like a cowl, maybe a hat. I'm not too picky about that. I just want a yarn is what I want. I'm currently spinning this in a semi-worsted style, I guess. The fibers are mostly aligned when they came off the drum carder, and so I'm spinning with most of them aligned. However, sometimes I'm spinning from the side, and just the way that these have been aligned is that sometimes they lean one way or another, so I'm getting somewhat of like maybe semi-woolen, but I'll just bring this in front of the camera so you all can see. But there's the bat, and you could see along the length of the bat here, I'm just spinning literally from the top of how it was removed off the drum carder. So I'm just trying to spin side to side as best as I can. It's not as clean as spinning like a Corriedale or like a Merino or a BFL, like a true like sheep's like wool. Just because I'm pulling what I can and incorporating it into my drafting triangle here, but it's still working out, so I can't really complain. Again, I'm producing a yarn. It's relatively smooth. I can't complain about the overall way I'm spinning here. Again, I just want to make a yarn, and I'm trying to use up all this cashmere that's been sitting around for like a good almost 3 years. That's what happens with your fiber stash, right? I mean, any sort of yarn stash. And I'm sure most of you who, do these crafts know that collecting art supplies or hobby supplies is a very different hobby from actually using them. This is me trying to use up most of that. And I got 2 bags of cashmere off of that auction. This whole purple bag of it was easily must have been like 300 grams. And I got an identical bag of like orangish, red yellow cashmere that has not been processed, and honestly it's daunting. Like, it took me so long just to work up the courage to work with this, right? Because you have to prepare the fibers, pick them apart, and then comb them, and then, you're whipping all that hair into them, and suddenly the fluff that you have is a lot more than intended to work with. So I'm just gonna kind of use what I have here, and maybe, I don't know, gotta find a fiber friend to give my stash to, because I have more than I need. I recently acquired a drum carder from a maker in Ukraine, and it arrived maybe a bit like over 7 months ago, and I've been really wanting to use it because I got sheep's lock and some other like light gray wool that I really wanted to try to process into an art bat. So I really wanted that to be like my summer project, just to play with it and see how I could make a custom bat to spin. The locks are like lemon yellow, lime greens, darker green chartreuse, really fun pops of color in that sort of side of the spectrum of the color wheel. And then with the light gray, I think it will add some visual interest and contrast with all that light, like bright, fun colors. But again, I gotta work at that and just find time to process it. But yeah, this is just one of my goals, is finishing spinning this cashmere. I recently taught a spinning class over 6 weeks during the month, like near the end of May to like the middle of June. And I'll just put it on camera, but we ended up spinning Corriedale on wheels. There's like an intro to spinning. We spun on a drop spindle first to get the basics of drafting through park and draft method. And then we translated that onto the wheel, and we had our participants spin up a 3-ply yarn. But I just want to show you all what mine looks like right here. So this is that 3-ply yarn. Pretty decent sort of cake. I got my center pull bit of tail out there and just the outside. But it's a little tonal. I don't know if you could see somewhat of that tannish light brown. I tried to use a tannic acid oak gall for winemaking to dye it. I probably should have left it in longer, but the way I was cooking it on the kitchen, well, simmering the yarn, the way I was simmering it in the kitchen, I didn't want to leave it for too long, so I left it for like 30 minutes. And there is some noticeable like areas where it's been dyed over, but I basically split it in half to dye half and half. I think what I wanted to do was use an iron additive to sort of blacken or deepen the color, but I didn't get to that. And also, iron can eat away at the protein fibers, so it is what it is. I think this would be nice for like a smaller project, or if I blend it with some other yarn to sort of work. I don't know what I would knit with it or what I would make with it, but it's yarn and I'm happy with it. It was a lot. It was like 150 grams over 3-ply, and I think it came up to like 300. No, that's a lie. I can't remember how many meters I produced, but it was probably maybe around 200 meters or something. Anyways, that's that. And yeah, I'm just looking for other reasons to have fun with all the craft stuff because I need it in my life right now. Um, I just had a lot to go through in terms of like through work, and it's just been a bit daunting just finding balance between time for myself and the usual day-to-day stuff. So this is just a nice way to squeeze in some enjoyment during my work week. If anyone else is out there is participating in Tour de Fleece or has a really cool fiber project or really any sort of arts or craft hobby project that's motivating you right now, I'd love to hear about it. Comment below. It's great to be inspired and to sort of hear what other people are doing and just appreciate that we're all sort of taking an avenue to explore ourselves through the things that we make or create. Yeah, and just got some enjoyment out of that. Because it's summer. It's summer. You should have fun in the summer months, right? And we should all make time. I mean, whatever season we're in, we should all make time to do something for ourselves. It brings us a sense of joy, calm. You know, we all need it. I've been helping a coworker. I would say learn to knit, but they had some previous knitting experience, but they wanted to know new things other than like the cast on and the knit stitch. So I I found a really easy like um garter stitch shawl pattern to kind of work them through and knit, but they expressed that one of their nieces really wanted this skinny scarf, and I immediately knew it had to have been the Sophie scarf because the way that they described it to me, talked about it, and like it has to be this pattern. So I might be, I've I've made like a number of them. I think I've made at least 5 since that pattern or the variants of that pattern came out. So I told my coworker I'd help them cast on and walk them through the scarf step by step. But oh man, I'm uh I'm Sophie scarfed out. I need uh I need different projects in my life, so I'm returning to like an old favorite again, that texture and twist shawl. It's visually interesting. There's right cables and basket weave sort of stitch, and then breaks of garter and stripe garter with like sandbar stitch, so alternating 2 rows of stockinette, 2 rows of garter, repeat twice, and then again breaks of garter stitch and back into those textured elements. But yeah, just something visually different. something for my hands, because too repetitive. I'm like, I could get a little bored with it. And I just want to think about something and put my focus into something rather than have the knitting be too casual. So that's like sort of the single right now. And like I said, I'm kind of spinning a little thick in areas because I'm worried about thinning them out too much where the lumps are of like the neps that are kind of somewhat stuck around the core, like right there. Yeah. Anyways, it's just another part of the process to work through. You can probably catch my wheel moving front and back, or at least catch the maidens sway a bit. My room's carpeted, and so it kind of leans into the carpet when I pedal every now and then. I'm used to spinning on the hardwood, and even with the hardwood, I have rubber shelf liners that go under my wheel to prevent it from slipping. I wonder if there's a way to kind of tighten up the wheel, but it works. It's in great condition. It's a little noisy, but that's just the nature of the wheel, like the make. It's like from the mid 1970s, and it the drive band rubs up against things, and I've upgraded with the Ashford Jumbo flyer, so it's not the original flyer, and it sort of moves on its own within the whole system here. But it works. Do I wish it was quieter? Yeah, maybe. It's hard spinning in like a spin in it group when you're the only spinner whose wheel is making noises, but otherwise, I mean, hey, gotta do what you gotta do. This Saturday, well, actually, the novel for the finale chapter of Heartstopper came out today, and the movie comes out this weekend. So that's something I'm looking forward to. It's a really good series, and I'm just really curious to see where the direction of that story takes place, like where they end up. It's been a while in the making, and I'm sure that, you know, it's time to wrap up the story, but it'll be really nice to sort of put an end to that and to kind of see again the finale of that adventure. Well, that's about all the spinning I'll do here. I'm going to continue on and off camera, but yeah, just want to share what that bobbin looks like. That is the current spinning.